Hey guys, welcome to my review for Orange. Oh god. Oh my god. So I first found out about the series a few months ago when I did my video on the top 30 best-selling manga of the year so far. And this was ranked pretty high up, and around the same time a new anime was starting. So I started to look into this manga. It seemed really interesting, so I decided to read it. And now, strategically taking advantage of the manga's current popularity, I will now be bringing you guys my thoughts on it. So Orange is a shoujo seinen manga that was serialized from 2012 to 2015 in Besatsu Margaret, and then later on in Monthly Action. And it was written and illustrated by Ichigo Takano. So being a shoujo series, it is safe to assume that this is definitely a romance manga, without a doubt. But I think the reason it's also classified as a seinen is just because it deals with some very, very mature themes, and there's also a really cool sci-fi element to the series. So the story starts with our protagonist Naho going to school on the first day of her second year of high school. Now before she goes to school, she gets a letter delivered to her, a letter that was seemingly sent to her by herself. Now this letter seems to contain diary entries from the future, almost like a future diary.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Oh, I just remember that series. Oh, I need a minute. So at first she thinks this is just a joke, like there is no way that this letter can have diary entries from the future like that, that's not a thing. However, she starts to realize there is more to it than she thought once she goes to class, and then realizes that the first thing that was written in the letters comes true. A new student named Kakeru transfers into their class on the first day. Now this is when Naho realizes that all of these letters that she has just received from the future seem to focus heavily on this guy Kakeru. Now Naho and her squad of friends quickly befriend Kakeru, and of course this being a shoujo series, Naho starts to develop feelings for him. Although once they get to know him, they realize that he has not had the easiest life. And it isn't long before Naho realizes that these letters are actually predicting from the future, and they are actually from her future self. And future Naho makes it very clear that she is sending these letters because she wants them to save Kakeru. Save him from what? Well, he's dead in the future. I mean, you could consider that a spoiler, but like it's at the end of the last chapter and it's like heavily hinted at within like the first color pages of the first volume, so Kakeru is basically going to die, and future Naho sent these letters to the past so they could prevent this from happening. And that's pretty much the premise of this story. I don't want to say anything else because it is short. I don't want to risk spoiling anything else. But what I will say is that this is one of the best manga I have ever read. I was actually blown away while reading this. Like, it literally blew my mind. I mean, right off the bat, you can tell that the writing is just top-notch. Because after just a few pages of seeing all of these characters, I was just completely engrossed into the story. These characters are so well written. And the story that surrounds them is so well written. Like, they just feel real. They feel real and they're relatable, and it just blew me away. The story is constantly engaging. There are a ton of plot twists. And the crazy thing about the plot twists is that you never, ever see them coming. Like, when they happen, they blow your mind. But once you really think about it, it makes everything make sense. Like a plot twist will happen, you'll just be in shock for a couple minutes, then when you think back you're like, now, like, literally everything is making sense now. And like I said before, this series deals with some very mature themes and they are handled exceptionally well. This is a very, very sad manga series. Like the feels are real. I mean, I still have yet to cry while reading a manga, but goddamn. And as you would imagine, it's also very suspenseful because the series is literally a race against time to stop someone from dying. And of course, as they start following the instructions of the letter, their timeline starts to shift a bit where things start happening that weren't predicted from the future. Because they're essentially rewriting future Naho's timeline. Which I think was a really smart choice, because if that didn't happen and they could keep following the letters, then the series would have just been really predictable. But because they shake things up a bit, it really works. You know, time travel is a really awesome concept. I feel like pretty much anything can have time travel, and as long as it's good, then it'll work really well, but time travel is also really easy to screw up. But this series does do a very good job representing time travel. Although, if I had one complaint about the series, and this is literally my only complaint about the series, and it's really just a nitpick, it's that once we finally learn how the time travel was done, because like this takes place in present day, and the letters are only from 10 years in the future, and I mean it's not realistic for us to think we could have time travel by then, but they do eventually explain how this time travel is done, and it just feels really watered down and simple. But I'm not really going to take off any points of the story because the time travel is not really the focus of the story at all. It's mostly just the romance and friendship between these characters, which is done exceptionally well. I think the whole time travel element is just a really neat idea for the plot, but the real meat of the story is the relationship between these characters. The romance is done really well. Like I said before, all these characters feel real, and it just all works perfectly. And the ending of the story is just, oh my god, I'm not even going to talk about it. Next up we have the characters, and like I said before, these all feel like real people. They don't feel like manga characters, who usually have, you know, more exaggerated personalities, but these guys just feel real, which makes them all the more relatable, and so when bad stuff happens to them, it makes it all the more sad. So the only real characters of significance that we have here are Naho and her group of friends. Naho is an extremely well-written character. I mean, all of these characters are extremely well-written, and you know, she acts the way a normal girl in high school would. Not that I would really know how that works, but you know, she falls in love with Kakeru and all that stuff happens. She gets jealous when she sees him with other girls, and she blushes whenever he's nearby, all that fun stuff. Then you have Kakeru, who I really don't want to be talking all that much about his character because it's like all spoiler. Basically, the dude has had a pretty shit life, and he usually tries to hide it a lot. Like, he's always seeming really cheerful, even though you know some stuff is really bothering him. But yeah, he's just a really sad character, and you really quickly grow attached to him and hope that he doesn't end up friggin' dying. You also have Suwa, one of Naho's best friends, who gets a lot of development in this series, and I think this guy is a great supporting character. Like, he's always there for Naho and Kakeru and all of his other friends. Then you have the three other friends who definitely aren't the main focus of this story, but as supporting characters, they do their job very well, and I have absolutely no complaints about any of them. There's this one bully girl who picks on Naho all the time, and she's a real bitch. Like, I freaking hated her. That, of course, was the author's intent, so when she finally gets what she has coming for her, you're just like, oh, perfect. Now, for most shoujo slice of life type series that I've read, the art hasn't really been particularly amazing. To me, it seems like series like this generally have weaker art than, you know, more action-packed manga, just because, you know, the art's not really the focus. It mainly focuses on the story and characters, and the art doesn't have to be super good because there's no crazy action things going on. But the art in this series is actually phenomenal. Like, it's not the best art I've ever seen, but it just does its job so well. The art is very detailed, the character designs are really good, and I don't think I ever thought anything in this series looked bad. Like, it just all looked really good. Like I said, it's definitely not the best manga ever. I mean, a lot of other series definitely have better art, but for like a romance series, I was just blown away with how good it was. So those were my thoughts on Orange. What a series. Like, what a series. Like I said, when I was reading this, I just could not believe how freaking good it was. I mean, it was really popular. I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be, like, this good. Like, this is probably in, like, my top 5 manga of all time now. Which, by the way, I should really, like, remake that list at some point because it's really outdated now. So with all that being said, I am, of course, without a doubt, giving Orange my highest possible score of 5 oranges out of 5. So after watching this review, if you are interested in getting into Orange, both of these volumes here, the complete series, all 5 volumes in 2 omnibuy, are available from 7 Seas. The quality of these are pretty good and they are well worth the price. However, it is worth noting that the second volume contains volumes 4 and 5, and I was kind of just assuming that the last volume was really long because there was still a lot of the book left, so I was kind of surprised when I got to the end of the series and realized that like all of this is an entire volume of another manga. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you want to buy these at full price. And then of course you have the anime series that is currently airing. It should be over within a couple of weeks. It is a complete adaptation of the manga. I have not seen it, but I have heard really good things about this adaptation, and I'm sure it pretty much follows the manga panel by panel. It also has the director of Steins Gate, so that's an incredibly good sign. And this hasn't been confirmed or anything, but you know, I'd say it's safe to say there's probably going to be like a live action something within the next couple of years. So that was my review for Orange. Thank you guys so much for watching. Made sure I didn't have to make you guys wait 2 months this time. And you won't have to wait much longer for my next full series review. Well, not really full series, but my next review structured like a full series review, which will of course be for JoJo's Bizarre